You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again, and maybe a little bit of an opportunity now to sort of shake off the dust and process what we have seen as far as the portal party that has been ongoing, and want to get into a couple of thoughts with Joey Maguire as it relates to that experience. We'll hear from some of what Coach Maguire had to say on a couple of different fronts as far as what we might still see play out within the portal. And then also want to talk about what obviously will be rising expectations, kind of a different layer of pressure as you roll into the next season. But first, let's just take a listen to Coach Maguire talking about how this was spurred on and how this party came to be.
It's out with a statement, I will. I almost wore a shirt that Zane made me that actually has the tweet of I will and Cody's picture here and everything like that. Some of the change was losing guys, like whenever you're sitting there and you're like, hey, we're good here, and then all of a sudden we lose a guy, and it's like, okay, we have a spot. There's a really good player here. It helps us. So that's kind of been it, just to give you an idea where we're at. We want a kicker and we want to run it back, and then we'll take a big, deep breath, reevaluate where we're at, and feel like we're in a good spot. But those are the two. The Matador Club, our fan base, Cody Campbell, John Sellers, Dusty Womble, Gary Peterson. I don't want to miss anybody, but that crew, Tim Culp, Mark McDougall, the guys that have been behind the Matador Club. And Cody has been the guiding force behind this. There's one more thing that's happening in college football right now, and that's from right now until I think it's April, to where you still can take advantage of NIL, and then you're going to shift into revenue sharing, and so the Matador Club has been really big behind that, and I talked to Cody the other day, and that's why I started out by saying thank you to the Red Raider Nation and all our fans, is because Cody says, man, every time something pops on social media, we're getting more and more people donating because everybody's so excited, and so it's a lot of fun. I think what's really cool too is we've got guys and families coming into this building, and you have the best facility in the country. They're at other places and they go, Coach, this doesn't even compare to anything we've seen. And then you have a fan base like this that is so passionate that they want to be a part of. And so it's a really good selling point right now. But those guys have been absolutely incredible. Yeah, I can't thank them enough.
A lot of things coming together, Chris. Timing, resource, motivation, ability to make this what it's been.
And I think frustration. I think I think that people are ready to, we talked about this a lot last year. You're ready to graduate to the next phase. You've been kind of this contender-ish, go to bowl games before. But I think that as the playoff era now is here, and it's going to get expanded. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that it's at least going to go to 14. I think it probably stops there, but that you're all just kind of seeing that, okay, I want to get to a league title game. I want to be in that, this year it was like, man, can you play relevant games in November? Kind of did, but maybe kind of didn't. But I think people are, one, they're aligned. I mean, everybody's on the same page here. That's what's fun, and that's why this worked. You the Matador Club, but it's the administration, it's the coaching staff. I mean, you don't have the people that he mentioned are not going, I want you to go get this guy. I'll donate if you'll go get this particular player. But that's not happening. It's hey, what do you need? Let's give it to you. Okay, then we trust you to go do your thing. And it's been a fun, because that may be the most impressive thing, Cowan, at the end of the day, is that this was organized and it was flawlessly executed. We may never know the ebb and flow or the twists and turns behind the scenes, but keep in mind, remember all the stuff we talked about. You're targeting certain players at certain positions. You brought in several others on visits that you didn't end up signing. And all the while, I'm sure there's others out there that you would have considered or were considering, but to have it all fall into place and to kind of attack your list and not have it, oh, well, we kind of overthought that one, or we didn't get that done. And so now we're kind of left scrambling. It was pretty much like meticulous. So that's the part that I come away with that is most impressive, but it took a lot of funding, organization, no ego, trust, all that to kind of get to this point. And now you've really theoretically not done anything. Now you've just entered the chat maybe a bit and put yourself in a good spot. Now you got to go execute some things on the field and execute a plan. But it's fun watching that from afar in a way, because I just don't think every school has that. I mean, look up in Stillwater, for example. They basically were like ready to fire Mike Gundy, and he wasn't a believer in NIL. It's all the things that you read, or wasn't as big of a believer as maybe they needed. And they kind of make him rework his contract and give some of the money that they're not going to pay him to the cause. You've just seen different dynamics at other places in the country, and fortunately, you don't have that here. So I think that's certainly paid off.
I may be going too far, but it seemed to me to kind of translate into a fairly big vote of confidence in Joey Maguire.
Oh yeah,
by those that really matter as far as the support is concerned.
Yeah, I think, and we will touch on this as the weeks and months go along when the offseason does get here after this bowl game is over with. But I think that it takes a different skill set in today's college football with all of this that's going on. You need people skills and motivation and energy to deal with all that's going on. And I think Joey has an ideal skill set here for all of that. And I think the people that are helping here see that. And one, being in 3 bowl games in 3 years, having a winning record in the Big 12 in all 3 years he's been here. I mean, all the things that really haven't been done around here in a long time. I think that goes without saying, but I think that people see that he's a perfect fit for what this job calls for now. And it's different than it was 6 years ago, 15 years ago, all that, right? And I think that, he's well suited for it. And I think those people see that as well.
Kind of funny to think about maybe it changing from what it once was, where maybe after a set of years you reward a coach and you're talking all about the contract and what we can do for you there, where now as it's like, hey, happy to be in business with you after 3 years. Let's go get you a football team. I think we're going to go ahead and go out and buy you a football team. Now, it's just another way to interpret sort of a vote of confidence. And a lot of great things happening, on the field to like. I know you haven't gotten where you want to be either of those. So as you started out with talking about some of that frustration, not a guarantee that frustration leads to this type of motivation. Maybe more motivation sometimes to put a real estate sign in the head coach's front yard. But this is a different type of frustration because I guess it has to be rooted in or begin with a belief in Joey Maguire. So down to continue to ride with it, man. It's going to be an exciting ride all the way through 2025, in part because of the increased expectations and pressure that comes with it. We'll get to that coming up in just a moment. But before we leave the portal specifically, Chris, I wanted to take another listen to Joey Maguire talking about maybe what we could see upcoming as far as where's things sort of stand today and some continued fluidity, I guess, to the portal class that we could see in weeks or months to come. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite event again with Gametime. It's always a breeze using the Gametime app where you're going to find the best last-minute deals, and I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, you're always doing it at the lowest price guaranteed. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that final brat, that final beer at your own pace at the tailgate, because Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. Gametime gives you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Here again is Joey Maguire.
I feel like we'll be in a really good spot, and again, we'll have addressed our needs and wants, and then we'll take a deep breath and kind of evaluate the roster of where we're at, because those are the two. I feel like everywhere we've gone, and then there's probably one or two that you sit there and you go, man, this kid is probably too good to pass up. And so you can't say no, but we're really, once we, in the next couple of days, if we can fill those spots, then we'll take a deep breath. The good thing, it works out perfect. We have been really lucky because it's about to go dead, and there's a really good chance that we have completed our roster when it goes dead. So we're not going to be the team that has to have visits at the 1st of January, which will be awesome because that would give the coaches a little time off because they haven't had any time off right now because of the amount of recruiting we're doing. So that would be good for their families.
So I guess there's a couple of sort of timelines that fans have circled in on. I know that I've been texting with some Matador Mobsters about this, but there's, I guess, an opportunity as far as some fresh meat in the portal on the other side of the college football playoff potentially. And then you and I talked about on a Matador Mob mailbag episode this week about being active again in the spring, a little further down the calendar. But it sounds like still anything on the table, right? Anything possible in some of these periods as far as additions.
Yeah, and you heard Joey mention it earlier when he was listing off his wants, or hey, we still need this. You know, he said this, and you added Quentin Joyner, the running back, after that. So we want to make sure that you still aren't looking for a running back. And then you know, over the weekend ish, you know, Harvey Dyson is going to be in the portal, outside linebacker, and we'll see kind of who else, if there's anybody else on your team. And I don't know what Harvey Dyson's status would be for the bowl game or anybody else's name that you may hear from a Texas Tech standpoint. This is not, you're not going to be able to wrap this up and put a bow on it. I think with okay, we're now done. I think that's a ways off into the distance. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I think that they will need to be prepared and need to be ready to act quickly. I mean, depending on kind of how things play out, but I'll be surprised if more guys on your team don't either consider or don't get into the portal. And but I do think the bulk of your nucleus of your youth will in fact return. But what exactly does that look like? Because I mean, Joey kind of even said, he goes, there might be a guy or two that gets in there that we don't want to leave. And I don't know if they, like, you know, McAlpine, I think they would have loved to have kept, although I don't think that he would have been thought to be like heavily playing time next year at all.
Is that the crux of his issue, you think, or what was the story? The playing time?
Because you've added you added three guys that will eat up a lot of those snaps next year, and but I think they like Cofield and Rigsby and there's some others, but yeah, I think I mean he would have been in the mix or kind of in the rotation at some level, but it would have been back in. But he's still a young player too. Yeah,
and he flashed a few times this year.
Sure, and that's. You kind of want your cake and eat it too. I want to be really good right now, but also want my pipeline to continue, and we can continue to develop. But it doesn't always work that way. Harvey Dyson is a little bit different in that he's more of a upperclassman, and I don't know if he feels like that Romello Height comes in and just automatically gonna. But you've also got the Adederays and the Dylan Spencers, and you know your Amir Washingtons and your. Terrell Tillmans and Isaac Smith, I mean, you know, all the names that we kind of touched on when we talked about Romello Height being added, Charles Esters. there's a lot that will be and can be used, some of which have question marks because of coming off of injuries and Spencer and Adedire. But Harvey's also probably not like as big as maybe you would prefer or whatever. He's a good kid. I think and he's one of your guys. That's what I hate. He's like one of your, one of your people. He's one of those Cedar Hill guys that Joey initially got. And that's I hate that part.
But for whatever it's worth, I thought too, for as ineffectual as the group was overall for a variety of reasons, there was a point earlier in the year or midway through the year where I was kind of thinking Amir Washington had strung together the most success or impact. But as the year finished, I'm kind of thinking Harvey Dyson out of that group was the guy that had kind of strung together the most weeks where he was flashing a little. So kind of hate to lose him from the mix. Certainly like what you brought in, but he's not one I really wanted to see.
That's fair. Hey, but he could, his problem this year was he missed a handful of games at the beginning, and then he missed. I think he missed the West Virginia game, and I want to say the Oklahoma State game as well. But there was a time, and if you remember when Coach Ayu was talking about this particular group back in August, he's like, Harvey Dyson's been the most consistent guy. And then I think he got dinged up at the tail end of camp and missed the first month. And anyway, this is just part of it. It giveth, it taketh. That's the way this is going to go. The question is, does him or anybody else that would consider or enter, does this open up spots? Were they already over? And it's like, okay, now I just don't know how they will react to try to, how much more active, but your roster is far from completed. That's ultimately the point that we need to make here. There's going to be more announcements, more changes, whatever. And like, I'm still hopeful that I don't think Jake Strong, based on what you've done with Holden Phillips and Mitch Griffiths, I don't think Jake Strong would look to return here, but I'm still hopeful somebody like Jordan Brown would. I think I don't think he's got some massive role planned for him next year, but as a receiver, a rotational receiver, as a returner, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fan of his, but I'm hopeful he will reconsider and maybe, but heck, he could go start at North Texas, or he could go start at a variety of different places, I'm sure, and really do well. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot still to come, I guess. But the bottom line is you've put together a heck of a group, and you've added theoretically like 2 recruiting classes in the span of like the last 2 weeks when you have your high school class and then your portal class. So spring is going to be fascinating because you're about to add a whole bunch of folks, be handing out uniforms and helmets and all that here coming up here pretty quick in mid-January.
Yeah, no doubt. And bringing all that together, man, going to be quite the task in 2025. And I think because of this investment and this success that now you've had as far as additions to the roster, making a football team out of that roster, the pressure around that grows exponentially. I mean, the stakes are already high, obviously, but get a lot higher when you're talking about this type of portal experience that we've had to enjoy so far, Chris. And I wanted to wrap up our conversation talking about what to expect, what to anticipate. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and a whole lot more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch, a gut instinct in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a gut feeling again, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I mean, the stakes are already high, obviously, but get a lot higher when you're talking about this type of portal experience that we've had to enjoy so far, Chris. And I wanted to wrap up our conversation talking about what to expect, what to anticipate as far as you moving forward as a program. And let's take a listen again to some perspective on that from Red Raider head coach Joey Maguire.
I think I've said this before, and Sometimes I think people are like, man, he's saying that to get us to drink the Kool-Aid and all that stuff. I mean, I say, y'all know me, I say stuff because I believe it. I say it because that's what we want. We want to win. It was really hard watching the Big 12 championship. That's been a message to some different guys that have come in and talked to me, that we've had some really good conversations of like, hey, Coach, where do I fit in what you're bringing in? And my message was, did we win the Big 12? The answer is no. If you stay the exact same, and you think something's going to change, y'all have heard this before from me too. It's a true definition of insanity. Like, you can't. And so no matter who comes in the building, my expectation is not going to change. And my disappointment level, if we do not meet that expectation, will never change. It might have been Cody. I know it was Kirby, but we were 6-4, and y'all might. I don't know if I've told you this before or not, but we're 6-4, and that was the best record we've had through 10 games since I've been here. And I said, man, I feel like a complete failure, because my expectation is to win the Big 12, and to do that, we got to get some more dudes, and we did. And now my job, and I talked. This is whenever I called Barron this morning, and we were talking. I said, Barron, and Jacob Rodriguez and Bryce Ramirez, like, now it happens every year because we've got 8 mid-year freshmen coming in, maybe 9, but 8 mid-year freshmen. So now you're trying to get them on the same page, and now we've got transfers coming in. And the part of my job is now to create a team and have great chemistry and have a great culture. Because the one thing that you will see, and I think y'all can do the research on this, is there's other teams out there that are doing the same thing we've done. And School A is the number 1 ranked team in the country. But there's other teams that are not in the playoffs that did the same thing, right? Well, in my opinion, Dan Lanning has created an incredible culture with great players. That's my job. And there's other people that haven't met those expectations. And I don't think it's because it's the talent. It goes back to the culture and the chemistry. And so that's why Barron and I were talking. I said, bro, I can't wait for you to get here. I really can't wait for everybody's here, but we need to sit down and talk, because your main job is to get this team right. Like, that we're all on the same page. We care about each other and we love each other. And so that starts on January 14th, our first team meeting. But he and Jacob and Bryce, they're 3 returning captains. They got big shoes, or they've got some things that they got to really do to help me do that.
It's going to be a wild ride all the way through, Chris, because every part of it going to be under a microscope because of the expectations now that are, I think, maybe justifiably sky high.
Yeah, and that clip is probably worth saving and playing repeatedly over the offseason for us and for everybody, just because that's the that's the secret, or that's like because Florida State, Ole Miss. We'll see what the end of their journey looks like. But Ohio State, there's a bunch of people that have thrown a lot of money to this deal, and it hasn't worked, or it hasn't worked at the level that they wanted it to, or they're out of the tournament, if you will. And I think that it's just hard, to there's a lot that comes with this stuff. I mean, you need health and luck and the right mindset of everybody. Is everybody on the same page, or is everybody kind of starting to do their own thing? I mean, there's just that's not, and there's a level of responsibility for all involved here, not just the new guys coming in and not just the coaches, but you hear him talking about the players that are here. It's going to take a group effort, and it's going to be a lot of management in February and March and into the summer. And, people are going to say things. They're going to praise this team. They're going to doubt this team. There's going to be, all these pieces kind of, we just don't know what it looks like. And I don't really care what it looks like next fall, as long as you win. I won't be a part of what it was like in 08. Not that the expectations will be like that for this team, although there'll be some expectations, no doubt, like you just said. But I won't be a part of like a beauty contest like it was in 08 when I was just miserable or everybody was miserable. Like winning wasn't enough. It was how you won, how much you won by, and all that. I'm not interested in that anymore. Just figure out a way to win the games. By half a point, 12 straight times. I don't care. Look what the Chiefs are doing right now. It doesn't matter to me. But to get to that point, though, it's a bit because, going to Manhattan, Kansas, going to Tempe, Arizona and playing the Big 12 champs, going to Morgantown, going to Salt Lake City and playing a Utah team that was embarrassed last year. There's some landmines on this thing next year. But that work will start here pretty quick on your races against the clock and how quickly can we trust each other and learn new schemes and, and keep in mind, you got 2 new play callers on each side of the ball. You got a quarterback that's not even going to play in the spring. And so, again, there's a lot of moving parts here, but it won't change the fact that you will suit up every day and wake up every day with the thought, we have got to make it to Arlington, Texas in early December. If we don't, we have fallen short, period. That's just the reality of it.
I don't know why it tickled me so much, but I love the line, did we win the Big 12? The answer is no. I can just imagine Joey Maguire sitting in a darkened room with maybe a single spotlight and a desk. Jacob Rodriguez, sit down, Jacob. Question, did we win the Big 12? The answer is no. Thanks for being here again. Let's do it this time around. But you can certainly tell where the focus is. And
I think what you hear him saying is there's maybe people that are like, okay, did what we do out there this year, was it good enough? Well, this is why we're bringing in different pieces. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result, right? As he said. So it's harsh, and there's going to be some that go, I want to help stay here and develop and be a part of this whole thing. Others are going to go, okay, I get what you're saying, Coach. I appreciate the opportunity. I probably don't fit in as much, but I get that we fell a bit short, because it's not that your season was a failure and you still have a bowl game to play and have a chance to win 9 games and 4 bowl games in a row and all those things. But the dynamics have changed, which some of it I don't necessarily like, but this is the game we're playing right now. And it's either make it to the title game and be in the playoff hunt, or you have fallen short. This is where we're at.
Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. We're going to be joining you a couple more times throughout the week. So make sure you're subscribed out there on YouTube and anywhere you get podcasts as we get ready for the Liberty Bowl on the other side of the Christmas holiday. But Chris, hope you have a great one. Enjoyed it as always. And we'll be talking Memphis probably next time we get together.
It sounds like it, man. Keep hope alive, everybody, and hope everybody's safe travels out there, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for being out there as always. Shout out to the everydayers and, of course, to the Matador Mob as well. Your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. Hit the show notes. Find a link there for a free 14-day trial. Merry Christmas to everybody, the entire Locked On Texas Tech family. Hope it's a great one, and we will see you a little bit later on in the week as we get ready for Red Raiders and Razorbacks right here on Locked On Texas Tech.